Hey guys, welcome to another Shared News from Home. We are live today with all the latest updates in Bachelor Nation. As always, I'm your host, Gabby Ganta, and I'm joined by Hibba Berry and Zachary Reality today. Hello guys, happy Friday. Any fun plans for the weekend, Hibba?
Hey you guys, good to be here. Yes, happy Friday. Pretty chill plans for the weekend. Just going out of town, hanging out with friends now, slowly but surely. So I'm just happy to be back to socializing because it's been a minute. It's been a couple months. But I'm excited. And what about you, Zach? Any plans for this weekend? Anything fun going on?
Nothing too exciting. I do have a lot of Bachelor Nation opinions that I need to get off of my chest. So I'm
Oh.
really excited about this panel today.
Perfect. Let's get right into it because, of course, there's always so much to talk about. So, first up, we're getting a closer look at how Chris Harrison's absence from The Bachelorette has affected filming. A source close to production told E! News that Chris's presence was missed because, quote, the guys
Mhm.
always go to him for advice and view him as a wise older guy, and the ladies go to him as a father figure. Apparently, there was a lot of female energy on set, and Katie's contestants couldn't get the same advice from Tayshia and Caitlin. So, Chris was always known as the mediator and of the voice of reason on set, of course.
Mhm.
He did sort of play the father figure, sort of the dad of Bachelor Nation. So, I can imagine how there's a bit of a hole there now. You can't just immediately replace someone and it feel like the exact same. But some of the other producers have said, on the contrary, that Chris wasn't necessarily missed, but that the vibe definitely was different considering the new hosts were former bachelorettes. So another source said, quote, they're very attractive and fun and familiar to the franchise, speaking about Tayshia and Caitlin. So it was kind of distracted from Katie being the only desirable woman there. Now, this is something I did not think about, but now that someone else has said it, it makes
Mhm.
sense because Tayshia and Caitlin are such huge personalities and have been on the show multiple times. They're confident. And Katie's probably like, oh, shoot, like I need to, step up my game or be on that level. And then all these guys are trying to fight for Katie. And then here's these two more beautiful women. So I can definitely see how that would get hard. But do we still think that it was the right decision to replace Chris with these two former bachelorettes, even though, change might be hard sometimes? Hiba, what do you think?
I also didn't see that point as well that you mentioned, Gabby, of these two girls possibly stealing the spotlight. I didn't, yeah, that just never crossed my mind because we were so focused on Katie. We didn't think of the distractions, which could have been Caitlyn and Tayshia. But I mean, they are taken. So hopefully the contestants know that they don't have a chance with them and they focus on Katie, who they're actually here for. But I do see that the spotlight can get shifted a little bit because they do have such big personalities. They're used to the cameras. They've had their own seasons. They've also been on Bachelor seasons as well. So that can be a little bit of a conflict, I think. But as far as them being the hosts, I think because the franchise scrambled a little bit, they just kind of had to find somebody quick, someone who was available, someone who could easily clear their schedule because Chris Harrison not being involved anymore was such a big issue that they again had to kind of scramble a little bit and just find whoever was available at the time. So again, we'll just have to see how they are, how Twitter reacts, how the franchise, the audience reacts to really
Mhm.
the review of how they are as hosts. But I just really hope that it doesn't take the spotlight away from Katie because we are here for her. And again, these women are taken, they're in committed relationships. So I just hope the contestants know that. What do you think,
Mhm.
Zachary?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Hiba, about Caitlyn and Tayshia being in committed relationships, because that was my first thought when Gabby said that. And I mean, Tayshia and Caitlyn do have enormous personalities. They're basically celebrities to these Bachelor contestants that haven't been on a
Mhm.
franchise show before. So I can definitely understand why they might be a little blinded or distracted by that. But either way, I think Katie she is very desirable. She has a huge personality. And in regards to Chris not coming back, and I think we have a little tea here today, is that apparently the franchise, thought about bringing Chris back for The Bachelorette. They thought that maybe enough time has passed, he's done some work, that he could still host The Bachelorette. But it actually came down to Katie, who wasn't comfortable with Chris being the lead of the show. So that's kind of why they found Caitlyn and Tayshia, which I think was a great choice. As Hiba just mentioned, they've been on the show before. They're well known in Bachelor Nation. So this is all kind of alleged, whether or not Chris would have been back already so soon. But sources are saying that Katie was not comfortable with it. So I do think Caitlyn and Tayshia were the perfect kind of role for that because you can't just bring in another host so soon. I feel like it's definitely going to take people, time to digest Chris not being on the franchise, because he has been on the show for 20 years. It's not like he was a one-season wonder. So that's kind of my thoughts on that.
Yeah, exactly. That's such a great point. Very interesting to hear about what Katie might have been thinking and if she had a hand in that. This reminds me of this past season of Dancing with the Stars when they switched up the hosts from Tom and Aaron to Tyra Banks.
Yeah.
And, she had some flow ups here and there, which, were not the best, but overall, fans were just not happy with the change. And I think it's just because when you have hosts that have been with shows forever, same with Chris Harrison, it just, it takes a while for people to get comfortable with it. So I'm hoping that, Twitter doesn't come for Tayshia and Caitlyn because it's a little bit of a different vibe. But I honestly don't think so, because everyone loves them so much. But it's important to note that we can also not expect Chris to be back for Paradise. So it sounds like it's in the works, something he wants to do, but at this point, he's not going to be back to host that either. Another source said, quote, Chris is not expected at Paradise. It's not been mentioned at this point, but everyone knows he wants to return. So, of course, we've covered some of the details about Chris hiring a lawyer and maybe coming at the show for not, giving him what he deserves or bringing him back as soon as he would like. But Paradise is quickly approaching. We're trying to figure out who's going to be in the cast, who's going to be a host. We're a little bit up in the air still right now. But what do we think about Paradise without Chris? I feel like we've already kind of talked about this and we're already expecting it to be a completely different host. But what do you guys think about it? Zach?
I would like to see Wells Adams be a host of the Bachelor in Paradise. He's been the bartender for a few years. I think it would be a natural kind of transition. As I just mentioned, Katie might not have been super comfortable with Chris hosting her Bachelorette season. So I think that it really could go into a lot of the contestants, in previous seasons, if they're going to be comfortable with Chris hosting Bachelor in Paradise or not. And if a lot of them, especially, the contestants who are diverse and are of color, if a lot of them aren't comfortable with Chris being there, the franchise is going to choose those contestants because they're the ones who are the stars of the show. They're the ones that are going to be dating. So I don't really expect Chris to be back for Paradise. I just don't see it happening. And like I just mentioned, I would really like to see Wells Adams host in his replacement. What about you, Hippa?
That would be a nice progression. I think that would be a really good idea to have Wells kind of, get promoted a little bit, not be the bartender anymore, but actually take over as the host. Kind of like this natural progression that we see because the audience is used to seeing Wells. So maybe they'll just see him in a new position instead, which might be a little bit refreshing for him as well. And like you mentioned, another good point is that they're so desperate to get contestants that if Chris Harrison is a deal breaker for some of those contestants, like goodbye to Chris Harrison. I mean, they can easily dispose him and maybe like get someone else, because not a lot of contestants are agreeing to want to do Bachelor in Paradise. So they should just kind of lock in whoever they can get at the time without mentioning Chris's name, and then maybe just figure out a replacement. I'm not surprised at this news. I thought it was kind of inevitable, because if he wasn't going to come back for Katie's season, why would he come back for Bachelor in Paradise? Because they're, again, so close to one another as far as air dates, and it just didn't seem logical that would be a choice. I also think that it would just be nice to maybe get two former Bachelor contestants, just to change it up, kind of like how they're doing with Tayshia and Caitlyn. I think it'd be nice, to kind of get that equal treatment, because I just feel like Bachelor Nation or Bachelor seasons are just being so forgotten about and being put on the back burner. We're so focused on the women. It would be nice to maybe change it up and just get maybe some two male hosts. I don't know. I'm just kind of, trying to see like what we can do for Bachelor Nation, because again, Bachelor the season is being put on the back burner for so long, and no official word has come out about when the next season will be. So maybe, just to give the audience a little, just throw them a bone or something for now. Maybe it'd be nice to get some type of host situation figured out for Bachelor in Paradise, but it just seems like there's no word on a host at all. So we're just going to have to stay tuned and really see what they kind of curate up.
Definitely. As long as it's not Peter Weber, then I will be, completely fine with anything they choose.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that the past few years, there just hasn't been good Bachelors. We have not gotten a love story on The Bachelor. The Bachelorette is what is really seeming to work the past few years. So I think that's kind of where America's head is at. It also took a while to even get a Bachelorette in the first place. There was like 10 seasons of The Bachelor before we even got a Bachelorette. I mean, how many Bachelor seasons are there? 25? There's only like 17 Bachelorette. So I think I'm here for the women. I want to see more women on the show, especially women of color.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would be really cute for Wells Adams to, like we said, host Bachelor in Paradise along
Mhm.
with his fiancee, Sarah Hyland, an
Yeah.
amazing television personality and actress. They are adorable together. I'm sure they could give amazing couple advice and just have such a great time.
Mhm.
So that would be amazing in my book. That's what I'm pushing for. Of course, like we said, we're not sure yet, but what we're definitely keeping a close eye on right now is that Bachelor in Paradise cast and host announcement. And of course, you guys will keep you updated immediately when that
Mhm.
happens. So before we move on and talk about some updates with Matt James, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future videos or any future lives. We're back doing this multiple times a week, chatting all things Bachelor and all things entertainment. So make sure you subscribe and hit that button so you can be updated all the time. All right, let's get into some Matt James. As we all suspected, he confirmed his and Rachel's relationship this week. He recently said, quote, "I've seen Rachel a handful of times. I'm not pursuing any relationships right now outside of that. I said I was going to focus on my relationship with her, and that means focusing on it." Yes, Matt, that is what that means. So very interesting quote from him. I feel like they've been under so much pressure lately with all these paparazzi
Mhm.
photos that have come out of them hanging out. He had to say something. So do we think he's just, with this statement trying to squash those cheating or seeing other people rumors? Because that was what was really hurting him a couple weeks ago when Reality Steve was spilling some tea after their New York trip. And it seemed like he was
Mhm.
maybe talking to other girls. If that wasn't true, then I feel like, he wanted to squash that immediately because that just looks really bad for him. So is that what we're reading into this new line that we're hearing from him? Or is he, just focusing on Rachel? And it's true. Zachary, what do you think?
Yeah, in regards to the girl Grace who came on Reality Steve's Live, that was kind of fishy for me. I don't really know why she wanted to go on a public platform and bash Matt. So I kind of am putting her in the clout chaser category, to be completely honest. I think that Matt is focused on his relationship with Rachel. I don't think that he would be hanging out with her, especially because he knows what controversy he's going to face for hanging out with her,
Mhm.
especially from the Black community, because that was his whole issue with her, is that she does have this racist background. There's no denying that. And when he was on After the Final Rose, he broke up with her because of that background. He said, "I don't know how we're going to make this work until you go on your journey, educate yourself, acknowledge what you did and move forward and learn and grow. And growing and learning does not take overnight." I mean, Chris Harrison, he's being put on Bachelor timeout for months because he needs to grow and learn, and we want to see a change. So I'm just kind of confused why Matt James kind of accepting Rachel back so quickly. He didn't give her that room to grow that he said he wanted to give her on After the Final Rose.
For
Mhm.
sure, 100%. And I was super surprised because, again, like we saw in After the Final Rose, those nonverbals, those long pauses, the responses Matt would give, it just seemed like, okay, they're done. There's
Mm-hmm.
no way to save
Yeah.
this relationship. So I was super surprised when we saw pictures of them together, hanging out. We don't know if they're reconciling. I mean, I'm sure they're just having conversations and discussing, but even to be seen together, I was just so thrown off. I did not expect this to happen. I thought Rachel was going to be gone, from the spotlight, and we weren't going to see these two together for months because, again, this doesn't take overnight to be healed. It takes weeks, months to learn about, past racist things that you've done,
Mm-hmm.
whether they're unconscious or not or whatnot. But I just think this was way too soon. And again, I just don't know how genuine it is because on After the Final Rose, like, they didn't hold back. It was so raw. It was so authentic, the conversation between them. I mean, they didn't even hug. Like, Matt totally denied that opportunity. And so I'm just really thrown off. I don't really know what to conceptualize anymore as far as the future of their relationship and what can be saved because so much damage has been done. And it's over a very deep issue and something I'm sure Matt has struggled with in his life. So I'm just really confused right now. I really don't know what else to say because, again, this is such a roller coaster. And it's unfortunate because they do have to do this in a public setting when they're trying to figure it out. I mean, of course, they don't know what's going to happen. And we're here trying to, kind of interpret their moves. So, again, like, we really don't know what's going on because we're not in the relationship. But it's just interesting to kind of see how this is being played out, especially after what happened after the final rose, because I just did not see this coming. You just really cannot write this stuff.
Yes, that's so funny. Of course, we're obsessed with everything happening in Matt's relationship, especially with Rachel. But, Matt has other things going on in his life. He says he's also training for a marathon and is back to work in his community. So, this is what he had to say about speaking for the work that Rachel has done to educate herself about racism. He said, quote, "That's something you could talk to her about. A lot of what I'm focused on right now is the work that I'm doing in the community and with the marathon training." So, seems like he's busy, doesn't want to speak on Rachel's behalf. But what do you guys think? Do you think we'll be hearing anything from Rachel soon herself?
I think it was smart that he didn't speak on her behalf just because no matter what he said, it could have got twisted by the media very quickly and turned into a very, very unfortunate situation. So I'm glad that he's not speaking on her behalf. I think Rachel can, speak when she feels comfortable speaking. Matt obviously does have a lot going on, but he's also making Rachel a priority. They have been spotted together multiple times in New York, in Los Angeles. So they're definitely making their relationship work. And I kind of wish them all the best while doing it. I think if they really do want to try, especially after all the criticism they got, I wish them all the best in trying to make their relationship work. But I don't think it's going to last in the long run.
Totally agree. And I think it's smart that Matt didn't answer for Rachel because she has her own journey. She can kind of address it herself.
Mhm.
It's best just to ask her herself because that is the situation she put herself into. So I thought that was wise that he didn't give a response. And again, yeah, of course, like we just root for people to find love in the Bachelor Nation franchise. And you know what? If you guys want to give it a shot, go for it. No one's stopping you. Of course, people are going to criticize and you're going to have haters and people who support you. And it's just really about is this realistic? Is this going to work out? And I don't think it will because so much damage has already been done and they're at the start of the relationship. So I can't even imagine really what else is going to happen in the future. But I do think that they are having the right conversations behind the scenes as far as what Rachel has learned so far, what Matt has learned so far, how they can become better people, whether they end up together or separate. So I do think I have faith in them as far as, having deep conversations and really figuring out where they stand. But as far as if they're going to work out boyfriend and girlfriend, as fiancés, as a married couple, that's a whole other conversation. I don't even think we can get there yet. But I mean, I wish the best for them and I just hope they're happy mentally, especially with living such a public relationship and trying to reconcile publicly, even if that. So we'll just have to see. And of course, we wish the best for them. I hope they end up as a Claire and Dale back on officially, but time will tell.
Oh my goodness, so funny. Well, of course, if you're just joining us live right now, we want to hear your thoughts because we're going to get to some questions and comments at the end. So spill all the tea or all of your thoughts about Rachel and Matt. I know it's been quite a ride dealing with their relationship, but we want to know what you think and also about Bachelor in Paradise, Chris, the hosting situation, Tasha and Caitlin. How do you think they're going to do? Let us know your thoughts. We're going to get to some questions in just a few minutes here. So let's move on now to Katie Thurston because she has made the return to social media since her filming has wrapped. 2 days ago, she posted her step-by-step journey of getting the COVID-19 vaccine. So in the video, she listed who she got the vaccine for, which includes her mom, who is an essential worker, her pregnant sister, her grandparents, her nieces and nephews, because they are still in school. So she captioned the post, quote, "Can't start a healthy relationship without being healthy." A very cute caption there. A little bit mysterious about if she's in a healthy relationship now or not, but she's gonna, let us figure that out. Katie has also become quite the jokester. She posted a short video on her Instagram story teasing us, Bachelor Nation fans. Since her season wrapped production, Katie joked about how eager her family is to know whether or not her journey ended with an engagement. She captioned this video, quote, "My family searching for a ring," and then she pretended to look around with exaggeration and showed off her ringless finger. So, of course, in these moments just after filming, she's not going to be sporting an engagement ring because it's all under wraps right now. And it's honestly funny that she hasn't even told her family about it, or she's joking on the fact that that's the case. I'm sure maybe she hasn't because things can get leaked and rumors can get spread so quickly. And I feel like she really wants to keep her season under wraps. So I think that must be really tough. But what do we think about this cute video and just how she's making her return to Instagram? Hiba, what do you think?
this is Katie just being classic Katie. I mean, just showing her sense of humor. And it's interesting that she brought up the fact that her family doesn't know she's engaged. So in my head, I'm thinking, did the contestants not get to visit her family and like meet her potential suitors? Maybe hometowns, there wasn't any exchange of like the families meeting each other's families. So, or maybe her family members had to sign NDAs and they really can't say anything. So I thought that was a really interesting comment. I think her family has some sort of idea, but maybe they don't know who the guy might be. They just have to be so tight-lipped, and it's so hard because, I mean, we've got people like Reality Steve that can, sniff these people out and like get in contact with their hometowns and ask around their friend groups and mutual groups. So it's so hard to keep this under wraps because spoilers, like we've mentioned so many times, are inevitable and it's so hard to escape them. So that's why, again, I'm always hoping that Katie has a clean season for herself, just so this works out perfectly, hopefully. So we'll just have to see. But I thought it was just, classic Katie, just having fun, teasing us as always, just saying like, I know everything and you guys still don't, so you guys still gotta wait for it. What do you think, Zachary?
Yeah. I mean, this is the ultimate spoiler. Her caption, can't start a healthy relationship without getting healthy. I mean, Katie found love. That is how I interpret that. And I don't think it's like a spoiler, like we don't know who the guy is, but I think it's a good spoiler where we're like, okay, she found love, which is what we all want our Bachelorette to do. So I am without a doubt, I have full confidence that she found the right one this season. So I'm super happy for her. Now, usually on The Bachelor, the Bachelorette will meet the suitors' families at Final Four. And then at Final Two is when the lead's family comes in. So I believe that Katie's family met the final two suitors, but I don't believe that they know what happened after that. Now, when Katie got the ring, we're assuming she got engaged. She has to put that ring away. She can't wear it until she's allowed to be seen in public again with it. So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are probably, especially the people who see her, are like, where's the ring? Is it hidden somewhere? Are you going to be wearing it at night only? So a lot of people are curious, and she really can't say anything, and we do not want her to say anything. I have been spoiled by this show so many times, especially over the past couple years. I'm going to do everything I can in my power to not find out and not read spoilers about Katie's ending during this upcoming season, and I hope that nothing gets leaked. Reality Steve, I hope no one leaks anything, but I think this is a good sign. Her Instagram caption, I believe she found love.
Well, I'm going to give you major kudos, Zachary, because it's going to be very, very tough if you're now working with our shared news team, not being able to tap into spoilers because we love talking about them on here all the time. I was just thinking this reminds me of Tayshia's moment on her Instagram story where she was wearing her engagement ring, like holding a glass of wine while doing her podcast. And it was like there was some discrepancy about if it was in selfie mode camera, was it her right hand or her left hand? But like, I'm pretty sure it was just kind of a mess up on her part, and she like laughed it off, and everyone, was suspecting she was going to get engaged. So I'm wondering if Katie isn't careful, that might also happen. We'll be keeping a close eye out for that.
It happens with Caitlin Bristow too. Caitlin Bristow accidentally revealed Sean in a Snapchat a few years ago. So literally, these are the two Bachelorette Katie is left with. So I'm just going to put that out there.
Yeah, we're going to have to see what happens. I also hope, nothing's spoiled so we can be excited for her season. But I'm sure we're going to be talking about some stuff up until then. Of course, speaking still about Katie, we can't forget to mention Matt James's thoughts on her being the new Bachelorette lead. So in an interview with E! News, Matt was asked what advice he would give Katie, and he said, quote, "I should have asked Katie for advice. She's incredible. She's going to do so well, and I'm excited for her to have this space to find her person. I think that she's going to be one of the best to ever do it, and it's not going to be a surprise to me as we watch everyone across the country fall in love with her." So, wow, those are some very sweet words to come from an ex, someone who dumped her on live television. I think Matt is such a nice guy like that, though. That was really great to say. Of course, he didn't actually give us any of the advice that he would have given Katie. But what do you guys think is some advice that Matt actually might have given Katie if he answered this question correctly? Or what is some advice you think that, Katie would have been helpful to hear before going into this? Hiba?
That's a really interesting question because as far as Matt giving advice to Katie, I think he might say something along the lines of just watch out for the unpredictability of it all, because
Mhm.
Matt got such of the short end of the stick. His season, we all know, was such a roller coaster. So I think he might just tell her to buckle up and hang on tight, because anything can happen, especially, after the season wraps. Things can come out in real time about other contestants, when people in their hometowns find out about each contestant being on the show, they can air out dirty laundry. Like, we've seen this done time and time again. So I think it's
Mhm.
really important just to kind of go in it with blinders on and not try to pay attention to what other people kind of might reveal about each other or the contestants. So I think it's just kind of trusting your gut as well, and trying to foster genuine relationships with these people, and not, again, having like the naysayers get in your head. And as far as Katie giving that advice, I think, oh man, I don't know if she would really have any some or sort of like thought process, because again, just what Matt is going through is just so unrelatable. It's so unique, and I can't even think of something that Katie could possibly even theorize or say to him, because it's just his own journey. And again, he was dealt those cards. She'd probably just say, again, trust your gut. If you love her, you love her. Try to make it work. Because it seems like Katie is a fighter of wanting love and wanting everyone just to be happy. So I think she'd probably say something along those lines. But again, as far as Matt and Rachel working out, I feel like the chances are very slim. So there's just not really much advice you can really give. But I think it would be interesting to kind of hear from Katie's perspective what she thought on the whole situation. What do you think, Zachary?
Yeah. Well, Matt and Katie, they left off on really good terms, even when she went home on that one-on-one date, in which Tyler Cameron was also on. I loved that episode. They left off on really good terms. They left off as friends. So it only makes sense that Matt is going to give, wish her the best, wish her well. And, Matt didn't have a season like before he was the Bachelor. He was originally supposed to be on Claire Crawley's season. And that's usually when these leads get prepped, because they're on another show before they are the lead. So
Mhm.
Matt was really just thrown into the Bachelor. And, Katie, she did have some time on his season. So I agree with Matt. I think Katie is more than prepared to take on this role. She knows who she is. She's confident. She has spunk about her. Matt said it best. Katie does not need any advice. Katie is going to kill it. Now, Katie giving Matt advice, I kind of second you, Hiba. I don't know what Katie's going to say. I think that he's just, Matt just has to figure it out with Rachel. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know what anyone else can say to him to help him figure it out. They
Right.
just kind of need to figure it out individually.
Definitely. Well, let's also move on and talk about sort of the elephant in the room, which is Katie's Bachelorette promo. So we're obviously very excited for the season, but we have some thoughts on this promo. The Bachelorette premiere day is approaching quickly on June 7th. We are very excited. Bachelor Nation has had a lot of thoughts, though, on Katie's season 17 promo, which aired during the Oscars on April 25th. We saw this purple so-called prom dress, kind of a strange dress, the Be a Katie shirt right there. There was a swing. It was like kind of a fantasy theme, but then she was just on a blank white wall, and then, just overall very strange vibes. So we've already talked about this together, you guys, but please give me your thoughts more on this Katie promo. It's kind of crazy. Zachary, what are you thinking right now?
Yeah. Well, what we were saying before, me and Hiba, I'm sure you as well, we've been watching other Bachelorette promos this week just because this promo got a lot of criticism. So we were like looking back, I'm like, remember Hannah Brown's promo? Remember Claire Crawley's? A lot of these other promos just had a lot more to work with, and Katie's was just kind of lame. Like just her sitting on the staircase, the swing. The dress isn't that bad. I mean, I definitely called it a prom dress too, but I think she looks beautiful and stunning in it. It's just not as high of a quality. And we were kind of talking about it earlier, Gabby. You mentioned that maybe they could have played on the vibrator thing, because that was her thing. That's what she was known for most on Matt James's season. So it kind of felt like there was an element missing on this promo, because we missed that. That was her big thing. So we'll have to just kind of, I just need the teaser. I need the trailer with the guys. I want to see what they look like. I want
For
to
like
see
night
what
one?
she's wearing night one. Yes, I
Yeah.
need the trailer. That is what I'm most looking forward to. Hiba, where are you at with this?
Exactly. I needed more. I wanted more than just a white backdrop and her walking around the studio. Like, I needed
Mhm.
more than that, you guys. And it just looked really cheap. And I was totally fine with what she was wearing. I didn't really pay attention. I thought she looked great. I thought she looked beautiful. She looked the part. And again, playing off the vibrator thing, Zachary, you made a great point. It would have been cool if we
Mhm.
saw her, take that vibrator and maybe throw it in a dumpster or a trash can. Like, she doesn't need it because she found a
Yes,
man.
Wait, yeah,
Like,
that's good.
that's
Bachelor
what we
Nation,
needed.
you need to hit me up. I got
Something
ideas, you guys.
controversial, not something boring like this
Mhm.
one is.
Like
Exactly. It was
sitting on a
so
staircase does not make sense.
and like ripping off rose petals, like that's so cliche. Like, come on, you guys. But yeah, they should have tapped into more of what we've already known about her. Again, the vibrator part, that was key, you guys. But it just seemed like a
Mhm.
missed opportunity. You guys didn't think of it. So hit me up next time. But anyways, I thought
Yes.
the clothes were fine. It wasn't a huge deal to me. I just thought the production was just so cheap, and it just again seemed like she got the short end of the stick. And maybe it was, Bachelor Nation doing their whole rebranding. They wanted to do something different, a little bit more humble and simple. But I mean, if you guys want people to tune in, like, you've got to do what you guys did for Hannah Brown. I mean, that production
Mhm.
was insane. She
Yes.
basically was like
Yes.
Cinderella, running through the forest and stuff like that. So if I was someone that didn't know anything about Bachelor Nation, I finally wanted to kind of dive in and see, what the hype was about, and I saw that promo, I would not be really interested at all to tune in. So I think they just really got to ramp it up for maybe a second promo that might air closer to the premiere date, because we need to start seeing like clips of guys walking out of the limo and greeting her and seeing what she's wearing and what the actual vibe and the connection is right off the bat. Of course, you don't have to, give us everything, but just give us something, because we already saw, the backward skirt with another white backdrop, and now we're getting another white backdrop. So give us
Mhm.
something, please.
Yeah, that's a great
Yeah.
point. I definitely agree. I also didn't like they put in like a few clips of her from Matt's season where she was like yelling at the mean girls. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, that was like that's in the past. Like, can we not like show her like, wearing sweats without makeup like in this promo? I feel like they did her dirty a little bit there by including those parts. So that was kind of weird too. But she did look beautiful.
Yeah.
Of course, we're looking forward to more promos. Hopefully, that first night trailer teaser. Definitely excited for that. But we want to know what you guys think. So comment right now any of your thoughts about Katie's promo. Maybe you actually loved it and you want to explain why, or maybe you're totally with us and you thought it was a little bit under budget. Personally, I think some people might be saying, oh, COVID protocols, whatever. Maybe they weren't able to do a full production like Hannah Brown, but then we saw like an amazing one with Tayshia and even Claire. So I don't think that's an
Mhm.
excuse either. Not sure what went wrong here, but we're about to get into some of your guys' comments and questions. So let us know all of your thoughts about Bachelor Nation and the news we had today, and
Ooh.
we're gonna react to them. So let's see. Here's our
Yeah.
first one from Katie. She says Matt's a playboy.
Ooh.
That's interesting. I definitely
Starting
think
off
in the recent.
strong.
Oh, and he's leading her on. Okay. Starting off very strong. We love a strong
I
opinion.
love this.
Um, I definitely think in the past few weeks, there's been more Playboy vibes, as in, like, I don't know, he is just
He's
insecure. It
hanging
might
out
be
with
that
the
he
Sway
just has,
boys.
he's hanging out with the TikTok boys who are always trouble. That's a great point. Hitting up some random girls, if that was true or not, that's a little sketchy, Matt, for sure. So I don't know. I hope he, gets his stuff together and has a great life with Rachel. I think that would be great for them if they can work it out. If not, then I definitely understand this Playboy comment.
All right, Shauna says they need to bring Chris back. This is a
Mhm.
farce. This is a farce that they are together after all of this. Chris loses his job and they're together. It's not fair to Chris. This is a really good point, because if it seems like Matt and Rachel are trying to reconcile, it doesn't mean what Chris said is justified, because what Chris said was still wrong. And that was a completely different conversation in a different interview that he had with, of course, Rachel Lindsay on Extra at the time. And Rachel, we don't know how long or how far she's come on her journey. We can't compare that to Chris because we haven't really heard from Chris. He's kind of been in the background, like you mentioned, Zachary, like on Bachelor Nation timeout in a way. So we haven't really heard from him firsthand. We haven't gotten any sort of like video statement of how he's doing now, what he's learned. We just got the statements at the time of him trying to, like salvage whatever he had left of his career at the moment. So I think we really have to kind of differentiate these situations of Rachael and Chris, because they both said different things. They both did different things. They do have a connection and a relation, but they're not the same thing. So I think just because we might forgive Rachael doesn't mean we automatically have to forgive Chris. Again, different journeys, different context. So this is a huge gray area, so it's really hard to say, but we're just gonna have to hear it from Chris's side and see how much he's learned and where he's at in his journey, basically.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I think the Chris situation and the Rachael situation was just two separate things. So we have Lohengrin. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I did my best. Matt James' anti-ethical approach is impressive, to be frank. He stated on how after the final rose, he couldn't be with Rachael. Fast forward 2 months later, he and Rachael are back. Yeah, we kind of touched on that earlier when I was saying that how much of after the final rose was genuine, because he said, Rachael, go on this journey. I can't be with you. And then just a couple weeks later, he's spotted with her. So how long was this journey really? But also, hey, but you did make a good point. Like, you saw him on After the Final Rose. Like, he was genuine. It was authentic. He was in his feelings. He could not hug her. Like, he really was that upset. So I don't really know what changed from After the Final Rose to when they were first spotted together in New York, and how much time in between that were they actually not speaking or not, because there is a lot of Bachelor Nation theories that are saying they never broke up at all, and that was all an act after the final rose. And we really are not ever going to know until we get one of them in like an exclusive long-term interview. There's so much gray area on when they started talking after the final rose and when they officially got back together.
Totally. I would be very interested to see that. I think we need to wait for their contracts to be up, but then we might get some of that background information.
Get them on a podcast.
Exactly. All right. Daniel says, I think Victoria will not be in Bachelor in Paradise because she will be toxic. Very true. I think I've said multiple times she is pretty much the perfect person for Paradise, considering how wild she was on the season. But I don't know. The franchise got a lot of backlash because of that, because they showed too much drama and not as much of the love story. So I wonder if they really will kind of lean away from that rather than leaning into Victoria, which I feel like they normally would have.
I want her there. Queen Victoria, Queen Vic all the way.
It's just
really,
right?
Oh, interesting. I feel like you're the only person that would want her, because I mean, she was so toxic. I feel like people are just so over her.
But you love to watch a train wreck.
Yeah, I love Victoria. Like, I love people like that on TV, but I hope Victoria goes into Paradise not like and takes a different approach than maybe someone like Corinne, who was a villain on her season.
Oh, okay, yeah.
All right,
Ooh.
Jessica says, do you think the men will bring sex toys? So Zachary was really rooting for wanting at least some of the guys to bring this.
Yeah,
Day
100%.
one, night one. I think it'd be really interesting. Again, a fun play on what she did for, of course, Matt James's season for her night one when she met him. So I think this would be like a fun icebreaker. They might have to blur it. I'm not really sure, but I think this would be a fun thing because, again, it just shows that these contestants possibly, if they do this, similar personality, they're loose, they just want to have fun and explore a relationship with her. So I think it'd be a good icebreaker, a very unique one. So we'll just have to stay tuned.
Yeah,
definitely.
I'm really
and
looking forward to night one.
We also know that Blake Moynes is supposed to be on Katie's season. He, from being on Claire/Tasha's season, we saw a few elements of him being, very dirty mind, very like raunchy humor. So I feel like that's why they would really get along. So he might be one of those that are bringing one of these toys on the first night.
Yeah, I think that Blake is going to be really funny on Katie's season. They actually might be a really good match for each other, but it never goes well for people when they come back to another season, aka Heather, right. Aka Nick Viall. But Kathy 1955 says, why should Katie decide about Chris? So I think that the reason Katie should decide about Chris or should not is because they already casted Katie to be the Bachelorette before they announced that Chris was taking time away from the show. So Katie was already the Bachelorette, so she is the lead. So in a way, she does have a say. The show is about her. They need to make her comfortable. She is the one carrying this season.
Mhm.
She is the face of this show. She is the lead. So I think that Katie should have a say about Chris because this is her season. This is all about her finding love. And if she feels like she cannot be herself or feels discomfort because of who the host is, then I do feel like Katie should have a say about whether or not Chris should be hosting, just how like people who are going on Bachelor in Paradise should have a say if they feel comfortable with Chris coming back or not.
Mm-hmm. Very well said. All right, we have another comment here. Chris Harrison hired the same lawyer who represented Gabrielle Union when she was fired from America's Got Talent. So that is a great point to make. Love that you, caught that and brought it up because, I mean, let's read between the lines here. Like, you wouldn't go hire somebody like that if you weren't, dealing with your own battle with a major reality show. So definitely makes sense. Interested to see what all comes from that whole situation.
Yeah, we will have to see. I'm interested to see what action Chris Harrison is taking. Like I mentioned earlier this week, it's very out of the public eye. We don't know what he's franchise or what legal action he is taking. We really don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but it'll be interesting to see when or if Chris Harrison ever returns because he did make a huge mistake, but he's also been a part of the franchise for 20 years. And it's just, you can't throw him away. I know a lot of people are upset and they should be upset. I'm upset with him as well, but you really just can't throw him away like he was replaceable because he was a part of that franchise since the beginning.
Totally. And it's interesting he's also taking legal action because it shows you that, maybe he could have been in a contract while he was put in like leave of absence. So there's also that kind of legality that he might have to sort through as far as like, is he going to be paid out the rest of his contract because he's kind of being put on hiatus? So that's again another huge gray area with this Chris Harrison situation. So it'll be interesting to see if he even comes back, if he actually gets paid out as well. So we'll just have to keep watching.
Very good points, you guys. I've loved chatting everything about Bachelor with you today. That's all we have for now. But of course, make sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any future videos or any of these future lives because we are spilling all the tea, chatting all the time about what is going on in Bachelor Nation. So I'm your host, Gabby Gonta. I was joined by Hiba and Zachary today. You can follow us at our socials on the screen right now. Come say hi and we can chat all more about this. Those are a little bit messed up, but that's okay. You know us. Make sure you subscribe and thanks so much for tuning in today. We'll see you next time.
See you later, guys.